So in this lesson, we're going to talk about how to deal with complaints. And that ties in nicely really with the previous lesson, because we did talk about some customers who might refuse to pay because they're not happy with your job. Now, how are you going to deal with it when they complain? What do you do? Or remember what we spoke about with regard to customer service? Customer is king. So as much as possible, you want to deal with complaints in the most graceful and respectful way. Because if somebody has a complaint, usually they feel at least that it's justified, and how you deal with that complaint is going to affect their impression of your business going forward, and it's going to have a knock-on effect on future customers. Because generally, the most demonstrative clients are the ones that are not happy with the service, and they can go and cause chaos across the internet by making loads of complaints about you if you're not careful. Whereas if you deal with a complaint in the right way, actually it can win you a loyal customer for life. Because if you deal with it in the right way, they can end up being happy with your service, being impressed with the way that you dealt with their complaint, and being ready and willing to actually recommend your services to other people then. So what could the complaint be? Well, it could be about the way that you did the job. It could be about the materials you installed. It could be about the way that you actually acted yourself while you were on the job. Or it could be about the final stage, the invoice, the payment, the certificate, for example. They might question the amount that you charge them at the end. Now, if they're asking and questioning the amount, it's usually because you've added something on that they weren't expecting. And this comes back to the quoting chapter where I mentioned to you that it's really important to try and stick to your quote. Or if you have to add extra costs, always speak to the customer in advance about it. That way you'll avoid getting any complaints about price. But if there is a complaint, then how you handle it is you talk to the customer about it. You listen to their complaint, and then you apologise for the fact that they don't feel happy with your services, and you see what you can do to rectify it. Now, sometimes it's just worth taking a loss on a job in order to maintain your high level of customer service. I'll give you an example of that. So recently I actually had a complaint from a regular customer of mine. He wasn't happy with the job that I had done, and he actually wanted me to come in and talk to him about it. So I did, and I was a little bit nervous, I must admit. I wondered, what is he going to come up with? And basically what it was that I had charged him, I think 3 times for dealing with the same fault. And he just wasn't happy because he felt like the fact that I hadn't fixed it the first time properly, and it happened again, and then the second time, and it happened again, he felt like it wasn't really fair that he should only pay for it once. He kind of felt like he was paying for the result of fixing the problem, and the fact that I hadn't fixed it on the first occasion, he felt that that meant I shouldn't have charged him for that. Now, this is a difficult one because, to be honest, it was a tricky fault. It was a tripping RCD, intermittent tripping, you know what those ones are like. I came out to this site, it was a commercial customer, and I thought I'd found the problem. So I charged him, and it seemed to be fine. But then the fault started happening again. So I came back again, and I looked further, and then again I thought I found the problem. So I thought I'd fixed it, sent him an invoice, and then a while later it started happening again. So eventually the third time I came back, I actually found the main issue, which was like a socket that was really hidden out of the way under this kitchen unit. It had water dripping on it, and nobody even knew the socket was there. It was completely hidden, it wasn't being used, but that socket had been getting water in it, and intermittently it was getting damaged, getting damp, and therefore tripping, and that was the issue. But it was very difficult to find that fault. So I felt justified in charging him each time because I had found something that wasn't right, and I thought that that was the issue, and I billed him for my time. But he felt like he should just be paying me for a result, which was fixing the fault one time. And because I hadn't achieved that result at the start, he shouldn't have paid me for those several times. And I could understand where he was coming from. You know, from a customer point of view, it is very, very frustrating when you have a problem, you think it's fixed, and then it comes back again. And then you have to pay each time for somebody to come back to fix it. So what did I do? Well, I just apologized and I said to him, I really respect your business. You're a regular customer of mine and you know that I'll always look after you. So I explained my side of the story because I didn't want to just totally take it on the chin and for him to think that I'd just been kind of fleecing him, just ripping him off, which I hadn't. I'd genuinely been invoicing him because I'd spent time there. I thought I fixed the problem each time, and so I sent him an invoice. And in the end, we came to a solution, which was, I just said to him, look, this time, just forget that last invoice. I'll waive that for you. You're a good customer and I want to keep you as a customer and I understand where you're coming from. So let's just waive that last invoice. And he was happy with that. And I know that he will keep giving me regular work. In fact, we've just done another job for him recently, which was a big job, a few £1,000s. So it was worth keeping him as a customer. So because of that, I've maintained a good relationship with the customer for the sake of like 180 quid or something the last invoice was. I've preserved my reputation and I value that much more than 180 quid. And if I had have just stuck to my guns and said, no, you will pay that invoice, it's only fair, it's, you know, for what I've done, the time that I've spent. If he was upset, I could have lost potentially thousands of pounds worth of work in the future, and he could have gone off online and left a bad review about my company, which could have then lost me thousands of pounds more of work because of the bad effect that it would have had on my local reputation. So when it comes to dealing with customer complaints, remember this. How you deal with them is going to affect your ongoing reputation. And sometimes it's better to just apologise, take it on the chin and take a loss for that one job in order to preserve your reputation. Think about big companies who have excellent reputations for customer service. Maybe a company like Apple, who we've talked about before. Usually if anything goes wrong with their products, what will they do? They'll swap it out for you for free. And they will try to make it as seamless and stress-free for the customer as possible. And that's why they're able to charge a premium for their products and people keep coming back and buying from them, because that's the kind of customer experience that you want as a customer, isn't it? And as a business owner, that's the kind of customer experience you want to create for anyone who does genuinely complain about your services, which will happen at some point, because at some point something is bound to go wrong, and it might be something out of your control even. But how you deal with that is really going to affect the reputation of your company going forward. Now, if you're registered with NIC, EIC or another one of the competent person schemes, you do have to have a record of complaints as well. But this is more about formal complaints about your professional work and standards. So that's something to keep in mind as well, is that you should have a record of complaints for anyone who makes a complaint. Not about your customer service particularly, but about the actual standard of your work. And you can do that very easily by just having a simple little Excel spreadsheet or something where you just list any complaints that you might have received about the technical side of your work. Doesn't need to be anything complicated, but just to keep a record of any complaints that you've received in a formal way against the standards that your company sets. And keeping a record of complaints in general is a good idea so that you can learn from them. If you have a complaint about your customer service, about your work, about your invoicing, whatever it might be, write it down and write down what solution you can make to avoid it happening next time, so that you can learn from it and you can grow and improve in the future. So that's how to deal with complaints. Let's get on to the next lesson.